Hey, what's happening, y'all? Chinese here, also known as China L. Colston, actress and independent filmmaker based in Brooklyn, but I'm from Chicago. So today we'll be doing a film reaction to A Time to Kill, starring the great Samuel L. Jackson and many other talented actors. I'm joined here by my friend Steven F. McClain. Steven, take it away.
Steven F. McClain, actor, writer, director, musician.
Okay, right on. So I want to shout out a subscriber. He or she goes by the name of 1975 Jam Rock. 1975 Jam Rock is their YouTube username. And they suggested that we do a film reaction to A Time to Kill. So shout out to you if you ever watched this reaction to it. Thank you so much for suggesting it, because I forgot about that movie. And I'm assuming that he was, because I remember saying in our film reaction that Black filmmakers tend to have a revenge film with no revenge. And so maybe this is why he or she suggested we do this reaction to this film, because there was in fact revenge. No two ways about it. So I'm going to go to IMDb and give you all a breakdown of the principal characters and such. Okay. A Time to Kill. This was a novel adaptation, by the way.
John Grisham.
John Grisham. Thank you, Steve. All righty then.
All right.
A Time to Kill. The genre is crime, drama, thriller, released in 1996 when I was only 4 years old. Right. So it says in the overview, in Canton, Mississippi, a fearless young lawyer and his assistant defend a Black man accused of murdering two white men who raped his 10-year-old daughter, inciting violent retribution and revenge. From the Ku Klux Klan, as whack as they are. The principal cast would be Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock, Samuel L. Jackson, Kevin Spacey, Oliver Platt, he's hilarious, Charles S. Dutton, Brenda Fricker, Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland, and Ashley Judd, Tonia Stewart, I think it's Tonia, and Raven Kelly, who portrayed the 10-year-old little girl who was raped by these demons, and countless other talented actors. So Steve, let me shout out, the director is Joel Schumacher. Joel Schumacher also directed the classic film of, he wrote and directed the classic film of Sparkles, for those old school people, or people who appreciate old school films. And it was adapted by both John Grisham. I'm sorry, the screenwriter, the adapter was Akiva Goldsman, also known for writing A Beautiful Mind. Okay, so Steve, what are your thoughts? You want to tackle it from a screenwriting point of view, the way in which they filmed it, the acting, the score? It's up to you, my love.
All right, so the first time I saw this, it was in the theaters or whatever, and I was like, it's a great movie, blah, blah, this, that, and the other. Yeah, things are about to change, and then I hadn't seen it in years. And then when I went back and rewatched it, as I was watching it, I felt all these emotions coming up. And I realized that I probably should have watched it a second time before doing this review, because I was all in my emotions. I mean, it's really well written. The screenwriting is really well written. The screenplay is really right. The screenplay is really well written, and it's based off of John Grisham's novel of the same name, which is a really well written book. So it has easy material.
Yes.
characters are fully developed and rich, all three-dimensional.
Yes.
I like how the director handled all of the characters and gave perspectives, everyone's perspective or whatever, you know, even though you are feeling for Samuel L. Jackson's character and you're rooting for Matthew McConaughey's character, you still got the other side of the racist people too.
Yeah, I appreciated the complexity of each character, right?
Yeah.
Both the nemesis, both the enemies, the protagonist, and the antagonist. I appreciated how it started out. Shout out to the cinematographer and the director, Joe Schumacher, because they bring us into the world from an aerial shot high above the trees. And we see this truck, right? Trucking along on this road. And sometimes you're just like, oh, okay, they're just capturing the scenery of the environment. Right. No, the nemesis, the enemy, the rapists are in fact driving the truck. And as the movie progresses, you see the director writer establishes that these are knuckleheads. They're like throwing things like to some young Black men playing basketball, minding their business, teenagers playing basketball, minding their business, and they throw like garbage beer cans and such at them while they're playing, right? So we know that these are some rough riders up in this piece. They drive along and they're just causing chaos. So people are just enjoying it. It's like it's a nice Friday evening or whatever. And they're enjoying their day and they're just being disruptive. And then they go into the store. They also establish how, you know, it's a Black-owned store, right, Steve?
Right.
And they go in there, just take things. They just take the candy or whatever. They don't purchase it, from my remember. They just take it. And, you know, the Black merchant just let it rock because they don't want to cause any trouble. And they probably know that they may be, you know, lynched or whatever as a result if they do talk back. Now this is 1996, folks. Not 1896, not 1696, not 1796, but 1996. And it felt in some ways like I felt the fear of the Black citizens.
Right.
Like almost like they knew their place. They knew not to cause any trouble, although these knuckleheads were causing trouble. And then as it goes on and on, they show the little girl. So shout out to Joe. They show these knuckleheads causing all type of chaos in the store, people minding their business. And they show the little girl, the 10-year-old girl, purchasing things for her mother to cook. Her father, Samuel Jackson, is in construction. She's enjoying her, having a good time, picking up her little items. And she's in a good mood. She walks home on this road by herself because that's probably what she does on a regular basis.
1,000 times before.
1,000 times before. That's what we do. This is my neighborhood. Yeah. And then these knuckleheads, these demons drive up and they start attacking her and they rape her and they hang her, right, Steve?
Right. They try to rape her. They rape her.
No, they rape her.
And they tried to cover up their crime by killing her. They attempted to kill her, but she wouldn't die. Her fighting spirit wouldn't let her. They tried to hang her and the branch broke. So then they just threw her in the back of the truck. And then, like with Emmett Till, they tried to throw her in the river. But she survived. She came up out of the river and she went to her parents. Because she evidently had this indomitable spirit that would not allow her to die.
Shout out to Steve, because I was thinking this. I was like, when your spirit is not ready to go, it ain't going.
No way.
And it was a testament to her spirit, Steve.
Right.
Her will to live. And the fact that she endured that kind of pain, physical and psychological and emotional, right? Because it's traumas out of nowhere.
Right.
And she was only 10.
10.
Her little fragile body, I guess, was so resilient that she endured it. And it was sad to see a little girl be gang raped.
Right.
By these grown-ass men. And then we cut away, he cuts away to Samuel Jackson minding his business at work. And then someone informs him that something happened to his daughter. I think his wife. I'm assuming it's his wife. And when you see the little girl with a black eye and just bruised all over, barely, I mean, I don't know if John Grisham was attempting to pay homage to Emmett Till.
Right.
But it has a lot of similarities in some regards. So she just happened to survive, whereas Emmett Till did not. And that is the purpose, folks, of art, creating the possibility of a thing. Shout out to Lorraine Hansberry. So I love that he wrote it like that, right? Because in real life, at around that time, remember it was a black man who was dragged in Mississippi and he did not survive, right?
No, he was decapitated.
Right. So again, John Grisham, again, I don't know if it's based off of that, what occurred to that black man, but it seems very close to Emmett Till and to that black man. But his character, he made a choice to write that the character survived. And the father, when he did discover it, was so, because I'm thinking, I'm not a father, Steve, I'm not a parent, but I have nieces and nephews and things like that. So it's like, to know that your daughter was defenseless and raped and attacked, and you as a father was not there. You were doing what you're supposed to do. You were at work. So you providing a way to provide for your family. So Samuel Jackson, when he discovered that these demons raped and tried to kill his daughter, he lost it. He lost it. And the idea that he actually went to Matthew McConaughey, an attorney who really didn't have who had a lot of outstanding debts as an attorney, didn't have a great number of clients. So he had clients who had outstanding bills and had not paid them, right?
Right.
So he was a struggling attorney himself. He didn't have the greatest, right? You want to take over from there, or you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so he reaches out to Matthew McConaughey because Matthew McConaughey had, I believe, got his brother or a relative off.
Right.
Yes, so he was familiar with Matthew McConaughey's work, and he basically was hinting that, you know, if I would ever get in trouble,
you help me out, would you?
You help me out. You got me, right? And Matthew McConaughey was like, yeah. And the next scene, he shows up. The demons were like taken to court, and I think were they coming out on bail?
Listen, the thing that drove me crazy was the way that they were laughing and carrying on, and they were coming through the courtyard. I was at the courthouse. They act like what they just did was no big deal.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's real.
Understood Samuel L. in that instance, 100%. Snuck into the courthouse that night, the night before, and just waited with his AK-47, and they showed up and they checked out.
Did he wait in the cut, Steve?
Yes, he did. All night.
So, question, was their security so loose in a court that mofo can walk up in there with a rifle?
No, he climbed in he snuck in the window when the whole place was shut down the night before.
Thank you for that detail.
Right.
So the fact that, which means is what? It's premeditated.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah. So I dug the fact that the dude was like, he tapped right into the ancient man. If you hurt my family, I'm gonna hurt you.
Right.
No discussion.
Right. And I love that Samuel L. played it exactly that way. not wild. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. No. He's like,
no talking.
I gotta do.
This is what I have to do.
Right. Nobody's getting away with this shit.
No, right. Nobody's getting away with this. I will pray later. But you attacked my 10-year-old daughter. You tried
to grown men.
You raped her and then you tried to kill her.
Right. And you destroyed any chance of her ever having children.
That was the other part of it, right?
Right. So you took that away from her. You took
Now she can't have a family.
Right. You took so much away from her already at 10.
At 10.
And now it's time for you to go.
And the way he looked unsettled, but he was very sure about what his goal was.
Right.
I am going to kill you because you attempted to kill my innocent daughter. And the way he just came up out of the piece, he just emerged from the darkness and just went ham on them. And I love that they looked so shocked. Because he also mentioned to Matthew, he was like, look, we know the history, sir. Just not too long ago, some white man got off for killing a black man unjustly. And they went home.
Right.
Found not guilty, Emmett Till.
Right.
So I already know that they're going to be released, found not guilty, with all of this blatant evidence. We know the history here. It's Mississippi, for goodness sake.
Right. We're not going to get justice.
We're not going to get justice. We're not going to get justice. And he did what he felt he needed to do. And then so Max, let's talk about how Matthew was so shocked that he actually did it, because Matthew was like, because Matthew told his wife, he talked about how he suggested he may want to get revenge, but he's probably, he's distraught right now. He's being overly emotional. He didn't really mean that. He's
right.
not gonna. And Sammy's like, no, I meant it. Yeah, I meant it. And so now the movie goes on to like, how do I get him off? Which was what do you call it? Insanity plea?
Yeah, temporarily insane.
Temporarily insane. And then Sandra Bullock came on the scene because I guess she had read about the case. And so she was this researcher.
Roark.
What do you call her?
Roark.
Yes. So she did all the research to find other cases whereby they used a temporary insanity plea to find a Black person not guilty of killing somebody because of revenge, because they hurt someone in their family. And I really dug that. I love all the imagery too that they use, like a lot of the silent moments that Joel Schumacher used with the actors, how Samuel was always steadfast, but also Samuel L. Jackson felt guilty for having shot a police officer,
right,
who had nothing to do with the rape and the attempted murder. And what was interesting is how Samuel approached the police officer who he injured, who lost one of his legs as a result, right?
Right.
And Matthew McConaughey didn't think that was a good idea to approach the police officer right after you shot him. Now the dude is like left without one leg. He only has one leg. And the guy started crying. Like, he was, of course, furious. He had every right to be furious with Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
But as time progressed, he forgave him.
Right, because he was like, I have a daughter. And the thing about us as fathers, when we have daughters, the world will burn if anything happens to them. It does not matter. We will go on a killing spree for our little girls, because we are her first line of defense, her first line of protection. If I can't do it, she has no faith in the world. And I want her to have faith in the world. I want her to have faith in people. So I have to be the shield that protects her. And if something happens, everybody's got to die. It's just as simple as that.
See? So do you think that Matthew McConaughey had his own issues too, where he felt insecure about the ability to win that case?
Right. I mean, he's just this little lawyer, this little small time lawyer, can't really make his bills or whatever. And he's got to go up against the district attorney, who has the whole world on his side, who's eventually going to try to run for governor. It's basically unwinnable. Samuel L. Jackson shot these dudes. It was premeditated. He popped out from waiting in the courtroom.
Mad witnesses.
Mad, crazy witnesses. Shot these dudes and tore up a police officer's leg. You can't win that. That's unwinnable.
You can't win.
It would be so hard to claim temporary insanity because he sat and waited in the courthouse all night long with plenty of time to rethink what he's about to do.
Yes.
So go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
So he knew exactly what he was doing. So Matthew McConaughey was like,
uphill battle.
Winnable. I'm not really used to doing capital murder cases. This is a big one. I'm a little out of my depth here, but nobody else is going to take it.
And he tried to have the judge recuse himself because, it was like prejudice, and I think he was friendly with the DA or something like that.
Right.
And he was like, I want to have a trial in another county. And it was like, nope, rejection. That was an uphill battle. So it's like, okay, I'll have to, try it here. But that's when Sandra Bullock came into space. I guess in some ways, John Grisham made Sandra Bullock the hero.
Right.
The sub-hero, because Samuel was the original hero for his daughter. And then Matthew McConaughey, I guess, was secondary hero. But Sandra Bullock she presented the cases that would lead to him being found not guilty.
Right.
And Samuel Jackson never felt guilty for having killed them. Even as the movie unfolded, it was never remorse. Remorse for the cop, but
yes.
never for the two demons.
Nope.
Which makes sense. And then Matthew McConaughey, remember there was Donald Sutherland was like a has-been attorney who was a drunkard, right?
Right.
But he was very wise, and he was disbarred.
Right.
That's why he wasn't practicing law, because he was a civil rights attorney, I believe, or had fought for civil rights cases in the 60s or whatever, or 70s. And he said to Matthew McConaughey, I should have been in the courtroom fighting as opposed to on the picket line.
Right.
My battle is in the courtroom, not that's for other people who aren't attorneys. Similar to Toni Morrison, I know this is off key, but Toni Morrison said, I'm not going to protest. However, I will capture the plight of Black people in my novels. That's how I fight.
Right.
Everybody has their own lane in which to bring justice to the world or illuminate issues that are happening, expressing grievances. So I appreciate, so Donald Sutherland chose to be vulnerable in front of Matthew McConaughey by saying, I feel like I failed myself. I failed, the community who would need me, clients, because I'm out here on the streets protesting when I should have been in the court. So and Matthew's like, you cannot drink. If you are to help me on this case, you cannot drink. Right. And they brought in another drunkard who was also helpful in solving the case as well. And Sandra Bullock and Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock, she was a rich woman. She had inherited a lot of money from her rich father. And she was trying to find her place in the world, because I think she had a father who was an attorney, who was like a well-known attorney. So she wanted to stake out her own lane. And I think this was the case to do that, to prove that, no, I'm not just somebody's rich. I'm not just some rich, spoiled brat. I actually care about the community. I want to make a difference as it relates to justice. And so I
actually know what I'm doing.
And I know what I'm doing. I'm actually really efficient at research for this case. I actually help you win the case, and I'm feeling you too. Come on, Steve.
Each time that I saw this, the original time and then most recently, I was like, oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't go for it. It'll be too easy. Don't make them fall in love. Don't make them fall for each other. So I'm glad that they didn't fall for each other. And I do understand that tension that they had with one another, because so much time they spend together, and naturally things, just start developing. But I'm glad they never took it any further.
Yeah, I'm glad that they they dipped their toe in the water. There was a mutual physical attraction, and there was a mutual respect for one another's abilities. I thought that scene between them when they almost kissed, that's one of the most sensual, non-having sex scenes I've ever seen in movies.
Right.
It was so sensual.
Where you want them to kiss, but you didn't want them to kiss, but you want them to kiss.
Yeah. But it talks about too how Matthew McConaughey needed this case to redeem his value as an attorney. Because it seemed like he was just kind of like making it, he was barely having his head above the water. Like he was just sustaining himself.
Right, barely.
But I think this case is going to definitely attract more clients for him because it proved his abilities. And he better keep Sandra Bullock on board too.
Right.
Because she was definitely an asset to the case. And also it was interesting how, because Matthew McConaughey chose to try this case, his assistant, her husband was killed as a result because the KKK tried to stop, they blew up Matthew McConaughey's house. Thank God his wife and daughter were at their relative's house, right?
Yeah.
But they did beat up his assistant. She was an elderly, older woman. She was a senior, but she was still his assistant. They beat up her husband and he eventually died.
Yep.
And they were trying to deter him from taking on that case, but he moved forward anyhow. And she basically warned him or begged him to drop the case because they're getting threats and such. But he ignored that and said, no, I have to do this. And I think part of it appeared to me that part of it was about justice. And part of it was about, I need to redeem myself as an attorney. What do you feel differently or you feel the same?
I feel the same. I feel like his character arc was about doing the right things for the right reason in the face of all adversity.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the right things, sometimes it's the hardest thing to do because everybody except Roark, everybody was telling him, drop this case, it's unwinnable, let it go.
Yeah.
But he knew in his heart that Samuel L. should not go to jail, should not suffer any consequences for destroying his daughter's attackers. And I love that. In the face of all adversity, he was like, I'm still gonna do it.
I mean, they literally blew up the man's house.
Right.
Like they set it ablaze. Like he was homeless.
Right.
But I like too that the writer kept stressing it. If the writer did not give Matthew McConaughey a 10-year-old daughter like Samuel's, I don't think he would have been able to push through it despite adversity. He kept saying, I have a daughter. What if this happened to my daughter? That was, to me, that was the driving force outside of him wanting justice,
right,
and to redeem his reputation as an attorney. It was really about, this could have happened to my daughter, not because she's white, but just because it's some demons out here and they don't care.
Right.
So I like that was a driving force, and I like also that Matthew McConaughey, when he was addressing the jurors, that he kept driving home, what if this was your daughter? Remove the fact that he's a Black man. Forget, just close your eyes. Oh, I love that scene. Close your eyes and imagine a 10-year-old girl, white girl, basically,
right, that
this happened to her. How would you feel?
And he talked about her indomitable spirit too.
He did.
This 10-year-old girl, her little broken body refused to die.
He painted that picture.
Right.
Very clearly. Because when you finish, most people with a heart, even if they're racist, well, that's not true. But some people, even if they're prejudiced, and you mention little girl, and then they can say, okay, that's different. Because clearly the motherfuckers who killed Emmett Till didn't care about him being a child.
Right.
Sorry, y'all. There's no other pretty way to say it. But I just like that. And they put all these obstacles in front of Matthew McConaughey's way to basically say, just give up the case, give it up. They burnt your house, your wife is gone. She's kind of mad. She's pissed at you too. If you're taking on this case and place herself and your child in danger, you place your assistant in danger's life, you got her husband killed. I mean, what are you doing? What are we doing here?
Are your friends telling you not to do this?
Your friends telling you not to do it.
They even showed that when the jury was sequestered, they went to the meal. It was like, he's guilty. We're gonna burn it.
He's guilty. Let's talk about the jurors.
Man, the jurors were already set to vote him down.
And none of them were hurt. They said a juror of your peers.
Woo,
Not one juror was Black. Not one.
I would like to I don't know if they mentioned it, but I would like to see what the demographics of the town were, even though it's a fictional town.
Right.
I would like to see what the demographics were.
It's Mississippi.
Right.
Okay, so I did some research because that's what I do sometimes, y'all. Detroit, Michigan, and Mississippi have the highest Black American population in all of the U.S.
Really?
Not Chicago. It's Detroit, and Detroit is a city. I get it. Fine. Michigan and Mississippi, the state, both states. But Detroit and any part of Mississippi has the highest populace of Black people.
Really?
Yes. So he clearly had enough peers up in that piece, in that county of Mississippi, to have some Black people on the jury. But they were just demonstrating how they don't do that. They don't select Black people because they knew the district attorney, Kevin Spacey, shout out to Kevin Spacey, was like, no, every time it's a Black juror, no, he said they will empathize with him.
Right.
They will. I mean, unless there are those type of Black people who are just melanin in color.
Right.
So we have those too. But it's a little girl. I mean, even people who are not about the Black collective, when it's little kids, even they cut that off. Even they're like, no, that's wrong.
Right.
Well, anyway, so I thought that was interesting, and how his wife was torn, and I don't understand why even before she started getting threats, she didn't seem like she was more about him being on TV. She's a part about him getting the notoriety as opposed to it being about justice.
Right. I think she was just wanting to be the wife of a famous dude. That's gonna bring us more money.
I'm not mad at her because it's like she's a homemaker, he's a sole provider, so of course she wants to attract money to sustain her way of living. So I get it, but it's just the way she was. I wasn't a fan of hers. I wasn't a fan. But it's something to know that in so many instances, when a Black person is unjustly killed and the evidence is very conspicuous,
nobody's held accountable.
Yeah, that person is still found not guilty is because it's like, well, we're gonna align with them even though we know what they did is clearly wrong. So I like that John Grisham. Shout out to John. I haven't seen any adaptations from him since the 90s. Have you?
Now that I think about it, no, I have not.
Yeah, where's John Grisham? Where are you, John Grisham? Shout out to you for penning this type of story. I was very moved. I actually cried. I cried when they raped that little girl. I cried, and it was like, y'all, it was like that ugly kind of cry that you want nobody to see you cry. It was because I can't tolerate little kids being hurt. It bothers my soul. I don't like to see adults hurt either, but when it's a kid, I can't. So it was a very emotional experience for me. And I Samuel Jackson was so steady in his point of view. He was so resolute, like he wasn't wavering at all. And what about the wife? See, what do you think about the Samuel Jackson's wife, like how she reacted to what Samuel did?
You know, honestly, I don't even remember.
She was in total support.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, she was scared that he would. She was concerned that now that you're in prison, in jail rather, like she was a homemaker.
Mm-hmm.
You were the sole provider. Like we have no means for food, to keep a roof over our head. Like, what are we supposed to do now that you're taking revenge? And I respect that, but at the same time, and it showed that, like, if you choose to do that, take the law into your hands and you have a family to provide for, and especially the way he did it, you will be taken away from the family, because the little girl had a brother too, right?
Right.
So now we're unprotected because you're not here. So it's like, well, I mean, it's like you can't win. You can win, but then the people in the community start in the church, and that's what I like about many times in the Black church. Like if they are aware of your situation, like the church was aware of that, they like raise money so that they could provide, they can pay the rent or the mortgage or whatever, and food. So I like that the church came together to do that. And then the NAACP hired an attorney, a white attorney, to fight on behalf of Samuel Jackson, but he was a shyster, y'all.
Right.
He was a straight shyster.
About the money.
Yeah, and the minister, like, basically they paid the Black minister off. He's like, no, you should go with this person instead of Matthew. And Samuel Jackson was like, well, if the money was raised for me, I can decide which attorney the money should go towards, right? And the minister was like, well,
there's no how it works. Well, this is how it work today.
He was like a greedy, stereotypical, like, preacher who was like, just let me get that money, that cushion money. And so I liked that Samuel was like, no, I want Matthew McConaughey, but also it made Matthew McConaughey like, we don't have competition, like somebody else. And I think that Samuel's character was smart.
Man.
Because sometimes most folks need to know that you ain't the only candy store on the block.
Right.
You have competition, which means you need to turn it up a notch. You need to really earn this, because I think you can get a little relaxed as an attorney if you know that your client doesn't really have, the case is pretty much unwinnable. He has very little resources, so you're trying to fight the case, but you're kind of slacking a little bit. You're not really like hustling like you should. But when Matthew noticed that he could be replaced, and then Samuel was like, but I can use that money to hire an attorney of my choosing, right? And Matthew felt like, oh, so you fighting you fighting for me to be your attorney, for me to get paid, because Matthew money was real skinny too, y'all.
Right.
So that boosted his confidence as well. And so it made him, I think, go in even harder. So it was like they were all interdependent on one another. I actually low-key wanted him and Sandra Bland to kiss. I know that's the naughty girl in me.
Right.
I mean, ultimately I'm glad it didn't happen, but I'm also glad that it wasn't fake. Like, they're two attractive people working together closely. To pretend like, and not that you're attracted to everybody you find attractive, let's be clear.
Right.
But they clearly had chemistry. Like, to ignore that would be stupid. So I'm glad they explored that. But I wonder, do you wonder if that movie had an impact on district attorneys around the world, or those attorneys who've seen that movie, or you don't think it's kind of like one ear and out? Or do you think movies can have that kind of impact to change people's mindset?
Yes, I do, but certain groups of people, I don't think it will. I think attorneys would just look at it like, oh, well, this is not really real. This is not what would really happen. Blase, this, that, and the other. I don't think it would affect them. I think it would affect college students, high school students, law school students, people coming into that world.
Okay.
You know, I think it would have a profound effect on them.
On how they navigate, use the law, or
yes, and what they use it for.
Oh, what they use it for.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And I wonder, do you think that these type of movies awaken the consciousness in a racist person? You think it has the power to do that?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know. I think they would use it as propaganda to fuel their own ideals. But I do think that movies like American History X, where they actually have a racist person understand and learn and grow from there. I think films like that show both sides.
More so.
Right.
Yeah, I think that there are some people who have practiced racism severe. It's one thing to be prejudiced against somebody, who cares? But someone who takes it as far as like enacting violence upon another Black person just because.
Right.
I actually, and maybe call me an idealist, but I think some movies can have such an impact on a person. If they watch the movie at a particular time in their life.
Yes.
Where it can just like, make them rethink how they think about Black people. I think movies are way more powerful than we think it is.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
I mean, there's some people who are so dead in their soul, like ain't nothing gonna change them, right?
Right.
At least I'll say a movie will not influence them, but I think it does. It will with some people. And it also highlighted how dumb some KKK members are, and how KKK members infiltrate, as they always have, the government, the court system, and the police department, and people who are grocery merchants. Like, they are part of the society, and they say hi to us and have lunch with us all the time at work.
Right.
And they're like loyal long-term members. So I like how it highlighted that. And can we talk about Charles Dutton?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we almost forgot him.
The police chief.
Former football player.
Right. So
he has, when you're a successful former football player in the South, you have people celebrate you.
Right.
Right. So you're the different type of Black.
Right.
You're the Michael Jordan Black. You're not a regular Black like Steve in China. You're a different kind of Black.
Yeah, you're one of the good ones.
Yeah, you're a good Black. You're a special Black. Right. But I love that he punched the KKK member before Samuel took them out. He's like, we have to take you down to the case. He's like, what? Like, he hit them. He didn't play that. He was not a timid, I'm just gonna get along Southern Black man.
Get along.
He was not that Black man, and I'm glad that they showcased that type, because not all Southern Black people, and I get it, it's a means of survival. So I'm not like taking anything away from Black people in the South who feel like, let me just be as polite and cordial and just keep my family safe. So respect to that. I'm not saying, but I'm saying, as some Blacks in the South like, no, you talk shit to me, I'm gonna knock you out, period. I don't care. And I'm a part of the police team too. So it's like, so I love that character, because they're seldom represented when they have narratives based around Southern Blacks. Like everybody is timid and scared, and it's like, no, they don't represent. They represent maybe a large number, because you don't want no trouble. But there's a small population like, no, we're not about that life. my great uncles in particular, I'm just going to connect it because on the Wilmingtons on my granddaddy's side, my mother's father, my grandfather's uncles, some white folks were trying to wanted to just own my great grandfather's land. We want to buy it from you. He was like, no, nice, no. And they kept at him. And my uncles, his brothers were like, with their shotgun, what you're going to do is get off this land. And you're going to leave our brother Thomas alone. You understand?
Right. That's what's going to happen.
Are we clear?
Crystal.
Yeah. And we still own that land. Shout out to the Wilmingtons, okay, up in here, Mississippi, hardcore, Grenada, Mississippi. So there are those who represent as well. So this movie was very balanced, and I enjoyed this movie. I forgot how much I enjoyed it.
Right.
It's gripping, emotionally, really captivating, nice visuals. Yeah, it was a good movie. Thank you so much. Let me bring up this individual's name again. Really appreciate that. That was a great, and I was like, man, this movie is, I watched it like twice. I hadn't seen it in 2 weeks, so that's why some of my details is a little fuzzy.
Right.
But I do remember like, wow, this movie is freaking great. This is a great movie. And so that's why, I say too, like, there are some movies, y'all, are old movies. Some movies I would say these are old, and some movies are classics.
Right.
I think I would classify this as a classic film.
Right, because the story, it still fits even today.
Very balanced, even more so today. So thank you again to 1975 Jam Rock for suggesting we do a film reaction to A Time to Kill by John Grisham, directed by Joel Schumacher, starring Samuel L. Jackson, Matthew McConaughey, Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland, and Sandra Bullock, and Ashley Judd, and other talented actors. It was a great ride. It was emotional, and I'm here for justice, y'all. Like I don't think nobody should kill anybody just because. And this is a fictional world, of course. So I don't know in real life if Samuel would have got off. But he acted out of protector instinct.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did. And so at least in the artistic world, he got justice. And he got off. And then I love how they ended the movie like Samuel Jackson and his wife doing a barbecue cookout at the crib, moving on with life. And then Matthew McConaughey and his wife came to the barbecue cookout, and they got to know each other. And it was, to me, it wrapped up with like, let's get to know each other beyond you're a Black attorney, you're a white attorney, I'm a Black construction worker, you're Black, you're white. Let's really get to know each other as human beings.
Right.
Really bond beyond the superficial stuff. So yeah, appreciate that. I think we need to see more movies set in Mississippi. I actually have a movie that I'm writing on that will be set in Mississippi in honor of my granddaddy, Mr. Quentin Wilmington, rest in peace to him, and all my uncles and aunts, because I feel like we don't see many movies set in Mississippi anymore.
Nope.
And Steve, you're from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Did you ever see a
movie set in Kentucky?
We never see a movie set in Kentucky where Black people are the central characters, at least.
Right, but I have an idea for a thriller. You remember a couple of weeks ago I said, "Oh, I want to write a thriller."
Yeah.
Now I have an idea for a thriller, and I want to set it in Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah. I just gotta let it marinate a little bit.
So, if someone were to go to Kentucky, what should we go experience? As a tourist.
Definitely the horse farm.
The horse farm.
Yes.
That sounds so nice.
It is. It's like the biggest area for horses. You can learn all about horses, race horses, work horses, all that. It's just really beautiful, and it's just really educational as well.
And they treat them well.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, definitely. There's Boonesboro, where Daniel Boone is from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can go and learn about him and everything in there. Mammoth Cave is pretty cool.
Okay.
I've never been, but Mammoth Cave, everybody talked about how they went to see Mammoth Cave.
Nice.
I think I really do have to set something in Kentucky now.
You should.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here, folks. He and I, Kentucky. I'm from Chicago, but my mother's from Mississippi. So I think it's our duty as filmmakers to set at least one of our films and where we're from originally or where our parents are from. So I hope you all enjoyed this discussion about A Time to Kill from Steven F. McClain and myself, China L. Colston, also known as Chinese. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Sunday night and have a great week. All right, take care. Peace. Chinese.
Peace.